Good morning, friends. Welcome back to Virtual Sunday School. We are going to continue learning about bravery in the Bible, but with a different story. Last week we learned about how Daniel was brave in the lion's den. This week we are going to learn about a guy named Jonah and how Jonah was brave in the face of a whale. So Jonah is what we know as a prophet. And we're going to hear throughout the story a little bit about what that means to be a prophet. Prophets were people who were chosen by God. Our story begins with Jonah. Jonah was just hanging out when the word of God came to him. So let's come and use our props and our imagination to tell the story. Jonah decided to enjoy a lovely day hanging out by the ocean when all of a sudden the word of the Lord came to Jonah and said, "Arise, go to Nineveh, the great city, and tell them that they are bad and they need to change and become good." Now, prophets are people who come so close to God and God comes so close to them that they know what God is telling them to do. Then they go do it. But even though Jonah heard, Jonah, instead of going this way, went the other way. Jonah found a ship heading for Tarshish, which is in Spain in the opposite direction of Nineveh. It was as far from Nineveh as you could go, so off they sailed. Suddenly, a great storm broke out and the waves were really choppy. The sailors were afraid, so each one prayed to God. They even threw everything they were carrying into the ocean to make the ship light so that it could float. A prophet is someone who helps people know what to do. So the sailors went down looking for Jonah. Do you know where he was? He was asleep at the bottom of the boat. The captain found him and commanded him to call on his God to save them. All Jonah did was climb onto the front of the boat deck. The storm only got worse, though, and the people were more afraid. They decided that someone on the boat had made God angry, and they wanted to throw that person overboard or get rid of him. Now, a prophet is also someone who speaks for the one true God, but Jonah still did not speak. The sailors finally asked him, "Who are you?" Jonah told them that he worshipped God, the one who made the sea and the land dry. The sailors were afraid. They knew that he was trying to flee from God. The sea grew even more troubled after Jonah's words, so finally Jonah said, "Throw me in and the storm will stop." So the sailors threw Jonah out into the ocean, and all of a sudden all was quiet. A prophet is also someone who brings people close to God by what he or she says and does. Jonah said nothing, but when the sea grew calm, the sailors all fell down and worshipped the one true God. A prophet is also someone who is close to God, and a false prophet is very, very far from God. When Jonah was thrown into the water, he was neither close to nor far from God. He was sinking. As he sank, a great big fish swallowed him whole. Jonah was alive and in the belly of the big fish for 3 days and 3 nights. From inside the belly of the fish, Jonah began to pray. And the fish began to feel very strange. It grew sicker and sicker. Finally, it swam to the shore and vomited Jonah out onto the land. Then the word of the Lord came to Jonah a second time. "Arise, go to Nineveh, the great city, and tell the people that they are bad and they need to change and become good. This time Jonah went to Nineveh. When Jonah got to Nineveh, he cried out to the people that they were bad and that God commanded them to be good. God said that they would all be destroyed if they did not change. Now, a prophet is someone who is overjoyed when people who are bad become good. The people of Nineveh listened to God's call, and they turned and became good. All went about wearing sackcloth and ashes to show how sorry they were. Even the king and the queen were sorry, and they became good. The creatures in the field were sorry too, and they all became good. So God did not destroy the great city. Friends, the story doesn't end there. You know, Jonah was actually kind of angry that God did not destroy the city. Jonah said, "These people aren't even the people of God. Why won't God just go ahead and destroy the city? Even though they're good now, they used to be so bad." So Jonah was angry, and he left the city, and he laid down, and he pouted like this, and he was angry with God. Jonah wanted to get his way, but God came, and God asked him, "Why are you so angry?" While Jonah sat there, God caused a plant to grow out of the desert, up and above, and gave a shade over Jonah's head. Then God sent a worm to attack the plant so that it would wither up and die. And so the next day, Jonah had no shade. And I bet you can imagine he was angry once again. So once again, God asked Jonah, "Why are you angry?" And Jonah was angry because Jonah did not get his way. But God said to Jonah, "You pity the plant, but you did nothing for it. You did not cause it to grow, and you did not care for it. Should I not pity Nineveh, that great city where there are more than 120,000 people?" Because God is a God of grace. God did not want to destroy Nineveh and all their people if God didn't have to. Because Jonah was such a great prophet, Jonah convinced the people to be good, to live a better life of caring for the land and the earth and the people around them. And because they had turned their ways, God forgave them and let them continue to live a happy life. Even though Jonah was upset, Jonah learned a valuable lesson of God's grace. So friends, that is our story for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And now Miss Ellie is going to do a fun activity with you to continue our learning. I hope you enjoy.
Hey guys, it's Miss Ellie here. I've got a fun little craft for us to do to go along with our story about Jonah and the whale that Miss Ann told us. And it's really easy to do. All you need is some paper. Any kind of paper will do. You'll need some scissors. You'll need some tape or glue. You need some markers, or you could use some stickers. And then you need something like this, a popsicle stick or a pipe cleaner or maybe a straw you got at McDonald's, anything that looks like this. And you know what? If you don't have this, it's okay because you can just hold up the pieces of paper. So I'm going to give you a second to get the supplies. Pause the video. Get the supplies. Come back. You back? Great. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is take our paper and cut it into pieces. It could be any size. It could be any shape. It doesn't have to be fancy. Or if you can't use scissors, you can just tear the paper. That is fine too. Next, we're going to draw some emotions on the paper. What are emotions? Things like happy, sad, angry, worried. Draw any emotions you can think of from the story. Here's one that I did. This person is worried. Here's another one. This train is feeling shy. Here's one with SpongeBob feeling hopeful. All right, I'll give you a second to do that. Okay, got your emotion cards? Great. Now, we are going to stick them onto our sticks. Use some tape. Like that. You can glue them on. And like I said, if you don't have any tape or glue or you don't have any sticks, you can just hold up the pieces of paper when I ask the question. So I'm going to ask you some questions about the story. And we're going to hold up the card of the emotion we're feeling. So when the Lord first asked Jonah to go to Nineveh and tell the people that they were being bad, how did he feel? Was he scared? Was he mad? Was he worried about the trip? Maybe. But he said no. How do you feel when someone asks you to do something maybe you don't want to do? Are you mad? Worried? Maybe it's something hard. Or maybe you're just happy to do it. Okay, then a big storm came and the sailors were... What were they feeling? Worried? I think so. Scared? Yes. You know what else they were? They were mad. They were mad that Jonah had come aboard their ship and asked them to take him away. And they thought he was causing the storm. How do you feel when something bad happens? And maybe you know it's because you didn't do something you were supposed to do. Scared? Probably. Worried what's going to happen to you? Probably. How did Jonah feel when he got thrown overboard and got inside the whale? How would you feel if you were inside a whale? Scared. But you know what? He was also hopeful because he knew that God would save him. He still trusted God. Now, eventually, Jonah gets out of the whale and he goes on to tell the people of Nineveh what they did and how they were wrong, and God saves them. How did God feel when Jonah disobeyed him and didn't go the first time? Was he mad? No. He was compassionate. You might remember this word from VBS, compassion. Compassionate. God still cared about Jonah, and he followed him, and he saved him when he was in the whale. And he was also compassionate towards the people of Nineveh. He gave them a second chance. He gave Jonah a second chance. And you know what? That makes me very happy.